Hi there, this is John Rowland. I am here at the Highland Park booth at Keno Sports Complex, what formerly was called the Electric Park. And I've had a number of people talk to us and ask us about how to put new leather on the dome polishing wheels. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The first step in that, and what we have here is I took a dome wheel. This is a new one, and I make sure my wheel's clean. It doesn't have any oil on it. If you have an old one, you're going to want to clean it off and maybe use some acetone or Goo Gone, depending on what is on the wheel. But what I've got is a nice closed cell foam. We sell this, and I'm going to take the foam first, and I'm going to position it, and it's a adhesive back foam. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this foam on the wheel. I peel it off, and you get one shot putting this on, so you try and really get it right. It's not that difficult, but if you get it wrong, it's kind of a pain. So I'm pulling it out as I stick it down, and then I get my fingers on the inside. I'm going to go over at 90 degrees, and then I'm going to go on these other sides. Now I'm pushing the edges over, and the adhesive doesn't need to be super strong. You'll see as I turn it over that it doesn't stick all the way up to the edge when I first stick it on. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this. So I like to put my blade in where I'm coming up underneath it, and I get my blade situated so as I come around it, I can pull this out a little bit, and I'm just keeping my blade perpendicular, so I'm getting a nice clean trim right to the edge of the wheel. I don't want a ragged edge here really, although a lot of it's forgiving, so if you screw up a little bit, you won't feel that as you are working on the wheel. And I just keep coming around. Big thing on this is you get a sharp blade, because if it's not sharp, then it kind of has a tendency to tear the rubber. What you'll see after you've done one of these is it's really easy to do. Anybody can cut that off. It's getting where it wants to stick on everything. And you can get a really nice professional result just doing it yourself. If that piece gets a little bit too long, it's trying to stick on everything else, I just cut it off so I don't have to deal with it. Now when I go to put my leather on, I actually prefer to put this wheel up on the machine after I get through this part. So the first part's getting the pad on, and then I'll go over and I'll set this on the machine right now here, and then so now I got it on the machine. I'm gonna wipe anything that might have gotten stuck on it off, and now we're ready to prep for our leather. Okay, so what I use for this part is this liquid nails, this Fuse It stuff. We tried others, but it's for all surfaces. Was great because what we're doing is we're going to lay a bead of this down in this groove here, and when we get the leather on here and then we get it all tightened up, this will help the leather from slipping out and getting a nap on it. So the next thing we're going to do, to be nice for you if you have a buddy to do this, is we're going to lay about an 1/8 inch bead here. So it takes a little coordination. I can't turn the wheel too fast, and he can't pump it too fast, but we get a nice bead like that. Then when the leather comes down in there, it's going to adhere really well and not slip out, because if it slips out, then you'll get this flappy, nappy kind of
Coming up to around here.
feel on the. All right, so we're done with that. Okay, so the tools of this job are vice grips. This is about a 75 thousandths wire, and you can buy the wire at like a Lowe's or Home Depot. And then our leather. And for the leather, what we've got is a really nice, it's not too thick. It's a little bit more than, is it like 3/32 thick, but it's a super nice feeling, soft. I mean, if the leather feels good like this, it's going to do a nice job polishing. If it's hard or kind of scratchy, you don't want that. So we take the leather, we make sure it's cut big enough because we don't want to have to fight to, have the edges trying to get off. And this is the trickiest part. Again, it's really nice to have two sets of hands here because we're going to sit it on here, we're going to pull it up, try and get it as neat and without folds. And I cut my wire so it's got enough extra, and then I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to twist it into a cross. Now this is, you might break a wire when you first start doing this, so if you do, don't get discouraged. Wire's cheap, you can grab it over and over again. Now what I do is I start turning it, and as I'm turning it, I'm pulling up on it. The trick is if you pull up, then the next coil of the wire doesn't roll on top of the existing one, which really helps, because if it rolls on top of the existing, 2 or 3 turns, the wire's going to snap. So I'm pulling up, I'm twisting, and I'm pulling this wire into the groove, and I'll pull a little bit more. And if I get too much, it looks like it's going to clump on me, I'm going to clamp down slower. I'm going to pull up pretty hard as I twist. And as I get down closer, then I'm looking to see, here, hold that for me. Well, my wheel's not all the way on my shaft.
Let me hold on tight.
Now I need a Phillips screwdriver there. So now as I turn it around, you can see the wire starting to pull down into that seat. Now what I want to do is I want to come down here and I want to help it a little bit. Now he can turn the wheel as I'm pushing it down into the groove. And what that helps with is it's pushing that glue down in there a little bit, because I don't want a huge amount of glue. So if it pushes some out to the side, that's okay. But this gives me a really good set. So when I tighten up my wire, it is, going to be pulled all the way down in the groove, and I get a really good professional tight bound wheel. So I'm going to keep pushing it down in here. The Phillips screwdriver is round, so it works real nice. So now I need the vice grips a little bit. Now I've checked here. If you watched as we were prepping this, Sherman was pulling the nap out of it.
And I was also working to make sure that the wire was down in that groove. That's what I was doing at the bottom of the wheel.
When you get down here, this is when you're most likely to break your wire. So I'm going to pull it up, I'm going to twist it some more. If I break it, I leave everything set. I get a new wire on. It will sit down in that groove pretty good for me. And I'm pulling up on it pretty hard as I turn it, and I'm watching so it doesn't, and I like to keep pulling my leather up so I get some tension on it. Now it will move underneath that wire, and that's why we use the glue, because that glue, once it dries, will really hold it good. I'm close to the right tension here. I think I want to just feel it for a minute. But as you can see, it's getting a real nice feel. I just like going around. If I can pull a little bit up, I'm going to do that. I'll leave it sit. Generally, I'll leave it sit for a day and a half once I do this, so that it's really, really snug. Let's see whether I get lucky and I can get just a tiny bit more turn on this, because I'd like a little bit tighter than that, but it's really close to That's enough. Now I'm gonna trim off this, but I don't want to go too low, so I'll leave maybe 3/8 of an inch. Cut that off. And then there's a little important detail here, which is I'm gonna lay this over, and I want to lay it over away from the rotation of direction, so this end that I just cut off is not like where if I put my hand against this, if it's spinning around this way, it's just a little bump, my hand goes over. If it's faced the other way, it could cut you. So do that, push down in, nice and smooth. And now our last step, we're gonna grab our razor blade and we're gonna trim it. Again, I like to do this on the wheel. I get up to the edge, so probably look in from this angle. So what I start to do is I get it cut. Again, I'm getting my blade perpendicular to the back of the wheel, and you get your friend. Now you'll notice you got some glue on this, so don't let this flop over and get on your machine. And a good sharp blade really helps here. So I just holding the piece up. Catch up with me there, bud. And I'm gonna trim it right down to the end. Grab that trim. And I'm going to control the end so it doesn't flop over on my machine or my leather. And I'm going to throw that piece out. You know, yeah, I could make something polishing out of it, but I'm done. I'll wipe the excess glue off the back, but if you look, you got a really professional coated wheel, and it took 15 minutes to do.